Deputy Róisín Shortall, co-leader of the Social Democrats.
Thank you. Minister, can you answer a question? Why is it beyond the capability of this government and the two previous Fine Gael-led governments to countenance a state-owned and controlled national maternity hospital built on state lands using state funds? You once agreed this was the only credible outcome. In 2017, you told the Dáil that the new maternity hospital, quote, should not involve the creation of a lease agreement, but rather the transfer of ownership of the site to the state so that there is no uncertainty or lack of clarity on the ownership. So I'm putting it to you again, Minister, have you changed your mind now on that? Do you believe, like the Taoiseach does, that a lease agreement is practically the same as ownership? So what's the big deal? It's only the future of women's healthcare services that's on the line, and of course a €1 billion investment of public funds. Mr. Martin made a big thing of the €10 annual rental charge yesterday. Tellingly, he failed to mention that the actual rent stipulated in the lease agreement is €850,000 a year. It has been reduced to €10 as long as a list of 6 conditions are complied with, including that the landlord, St Vincent's Holdings, retain a controlling stake over the use of the hospital. If these conditions are breached, the rent reverts upwards. If St Vincent's Holdings is magnanimously offering a €10 annual rent, can you explain why this punitive penalty clause exists? It is especially bizarre, Minister, that a separate legal document, an options agreement, specifically countenances the state purchasing the site. If everyone agrees that it is legally feasible that the state could buy the site, and that outcome is expressly provided for in legal documents, why isn't the state just buying the site? There's been a lot of talk about conspiracy theories in recent days, with those who have genuine concerns about this deal being vilified and equated almost to anti-vaxxers or COVID deniers, something I personally find pretty reprehensible. If we want to talk about conspiracy theories, here's a better one. An article in the Irish Times today suggests that the Health Minister's 100% guarantee that terminations and sterilisations will be available in the new hospital. A guarantee which was reported by the media could be relied on in legal proceedings as evidence of the government's intention concerning the hospital. This is nonsense. The only thing a court will have regard to is the legal documents underpinning the deal. A minister's guarantee, unless it's contained in the legal documents, is worthless. So I have 2 questions, Minister. Why, when you once insisted the state owned the site, are you apparently happy to go along with this deal? And secondly, is the rest of your party in agreement with you?
Thank you, Minister.
As I said, the previous question to Deputy Doherty, my understanding the previous government and this government did approach St Vincent's and to see would it be possible to purchase the land outright. They decided that they wanted to run as a voluntary hospital with this arrangement, with the Holles Street and this new board arrangement. That has changed with the third element being added in terms of public interest director roads. The question then for government is, in terms of with St Vincent saying no, and with real benefits in a co-located system, what do you do? Do you say, well, we look for another hospital or another co-location facility, recognising that we're going to have the same issue when it comes to the Coombe and the Rotunda probably in time, because the strategy is to move towards this model where our maternity hospitals do co-locate. And there are benefits from that. I think we are agreed on that. And so therefore the choice to say, government to say, well, we're going to turn down a 300-year lease at €10 a year, which in my mind is akin to ownership. When you get to a 300-year time frame, that is into the realm that it actually is not a material difference between outright ownership and a 300-year lease at that rate. And I think it's better to progress with that because there is an urgency around delivering the combined health services rather than going back to the drawing board and waiting another 5, 10, 15 years that tends to take this state, unfortunately, to deliver main health systems. We haven't built a new maternity hospital since probably the coup in the 50s or Holles Street back in the 30s. I can't think of another instance of a new maternity hospital in Cork, Mercy in Cork. But we don't build a lot of maternity hospitals. We are incredibly slow at delivering them. And I believe we do need to deliver. And I believe a 300-year lease gives the reassurances we need. I believe the legal structures give real assurance against the risk of religious interference, which I understand has been a real concern. I believe that is addressed. So do nothing, walk away, not take that option, in my mind, would not be the right approach. We look forward to the debate in the Oireachtas Committee this week to hear what the alternative approach is, to hear how you would avoid delay and take another way forward, because I don't see it. And I think it's important we do act. But if I can go back to the key point, I hope you agree with this, as one of the people involved in the delivery of social care. I see the National Maternity Strategy as being centrally connected to it. Would you agree with me that actually the focus needs to be not just on who owns the hospital, but actually how do we get a midwife-led, woman-centred maternity system in place? Because I don't believe we've delivered the maternity strategy with the pace and the ambition that is required. And that's where the focus needs to be, not just whether a 300-year lease is effective ownership or not. That, I think, is not the key issue for the women of this country. It's the care we need to focus on.
Minister, I think you're being quite disingenuous. This project has been delayed for almost a decade. There's been 4 successive ministers for health who were incapable of delivering this project in a way that satisfied the public in terms of the independence of the hospital and the protection for a massive public investment. Now, Minister, you talk about co-location, and nobody argues with that. But this is about so much more than co-location. This is about a takeover. Do you realise, Minister, because I don't think you do, that the new National Maternity Hospital is due to become a wholly owned subsidiary of St. Vincent's Holdings? Its status is to change completely. And furthermore, we all know that the Vatican had to approve the nuns' transfer of their shareholding to the new holding company. But when asked what terms and conditions were attached to this transfer and whether any documentation exists spelling these out, the health minister flippantly responded, "You'll have to talk to the Vatican about that. We don't have any such documents." Is the minister seriously telling us that that question has never been asked in the context of that delay? And if not, why not?
Minister.
With regard to the status of the new institution, the other people I've listened to, as well as obviously women who, friends and colleagues who are connected to the hospital, but the clinicians,
Did you read the document?
Yes, I'm trying to read every single document here to be just like yourself.
Is it acceptable?
Can I just make the point?
Is it acceptable that it will be a wholly owned subsidiary?
Answer the questions already
Can I just make the point that the clinicians in the current hospital, it seems to me, in the vast majority, are really arguing very strongly that we should proceed.
Of course they want a new hospital.
But that is, if you say that the institution is deeply worried about loss of its independence, or that it's a takeover, or that it's St. Vincent's taken over Holles Street, I don't hear that from the clinicians in Holles Street.
Had they got access to the legal documents?
Can I get back to the key point I want to make? It isn't just the clinicians. Under the National Maternity Structure, it's the National Director of Acute Hospitals for Services.
Oh, look, it's St. Vincent's Holdings that will control the National Maternity Hospital. Read the documents,
Minister. And state policy will decide how this is run.
Current documents, not a few years ago.
Please, we can